I'm excited to be here with Nnenna Makanjuola and talk about what's been going on in her business for the last 6 months. Welcome on the show, Nnenna.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited too. And we just before I hit record here, the best is yet to come. That is already a good starting point. We know this is going to be a positive conversation, even if we're talking about what's been going on, pandemic and everything else that has happened also this year. A lot of other things, not just that. But take us back to 6 months ago. What was going on in your life and business then?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe that it's been 6 months when you think about it. It's hard to believe that 6 months has already gone by. But thinking back to March, that was a bit of a troublesome time for me personally. We buried my dad December 30th, and I came back to the US January 3rd. And my intention was just to rest because last year was so hectic with caregiving, which eventually didn't work out in our favor. And then planning the funeral, having to travel thousands of miles to do the burial and then come back. So I already had the intention when I was coming back. My goal was just to rest and do, whatever. I don't want to say bare minimum, but my intention was to rest and move at a pace that was compatible with the rest that I intended.
Yeah.
And so I was in that frame of mind. The only thing I promised myself when I was coming back, when I was returning to the US, was that I wasn't going to let this, I knew that I would be grieving, but I didn't want the grief to set me back, to set back any progress I had made, or to use that grief as an excuse not to do anything. So I already set the intention that I was going to continue moving in the direction of my goals and dreams while acknowledging my grief. I was not going to not acknowledge the grief. My intention was just to let it come, but don't let it
take over,
debilitate me. Yes. Yeah. So so that's where I was. And at the same time, we were planning the next issue of Radiant, which was due out in May, but January was going to be my rest month. So I even announced to my newsletters, my newsletter readers, that I wasn't going to be available because I did that before I left in December. And so when I came back, that's where I was.
Yeah.
And just when I was starting to emerge, we started hearing rumblings of COVID, and then COVID happened. And so that first, I wasn't quite ready end of January, which was one of the things you find out about grief. You can't really put a timeline because in February we still had to move my dad's bill, move that out of his apartment, my parents' apartment. So that was a whole set of something else to deal with. So just end of February, when I was thinking, okay, time to get back to work, COVID hit. And along with COVID hitting, we weren't able to do a photo shoot for the magazine because everything shut down. And you don't want to be the health magazine that got everybody in a room.
COVID. Magazine and do a photo shoot in dangerous circumstances.
So we weren't able to do the photo shoot. And then my husband, I don't know if you know this, but my husband is a physician, and he's a critical care and pulmonary physician.
Wow.
So COVID was right in his lap. Like, the sickest people come to him, so ICU and lungs, which was really at the heart of the COVID attack. So he had to move to the basement of the house. He just moved back up 2 days ago. So he's been living in the basement.
Your husband has been living in the basement for 6 months?
Yes. Yeah, so because he was so exposed in the ICU, and in the beginning everything was in such disarray. He's quite tall. He's 6'4", and they didn't even have enough PPE to fit him. So yeah, and
Wow.
it just got to a point where he thought, okay, the risk is too much. So he moved to the basement. We didn't think it would be for so long. But obviously, as you can tell now, things got worse, got better, and then got much worse.
Yeah.
And on top of it, we had homeschooling. So I had my 2 kids,
Your husband was gone to the basement, the kids were with you, and you were still dealing with grief, and you're like, this is too much.
Yeah, so I had the kids homeschooling, a second grader and a 5th grader. The 5th grader was okay because he's older and can handle it, but homeschooling a 2nd grader, it was all completely new. And then I got the email that from the distributor that our main outlet, which is Barnes & Noble, that they weren't taking any new publisher orders. So everything was suspended indefinitely because, Barnes & Noble had to shut down.
Yeah.
And so it was just one thing after another. But I have to say that the decision I made in the beginning that I wasn't going to I already understood that my outer world was in chaos, but I was very intentional that I was going to stay focused on my inner world. And that's basically how I was able to get through. So by the time COVID hit, I just thought, well,
okay.
The way it is. Happened, yeah, we just we'll join the line,
Yeah.
But just having that intention allowed me to be able to process things as they were coming. Just to be able to take a step back and process it from not from a place of panic, because I was already taking walks every day, doing everything I could to steel myself. And anyway, that's where I was in March.
Wow, that's a lot. That's much more than many have had to deal with. And still, I think the decision you took already before everything happened helped you stay focused.
Yes, it did. And like most entrepreneurs, I think many entrepreneurs go through this stage of burnout. I already experienced it 3 years back. It was devastating. And that's what factored into this decision. I just said, no matter what, I can't go back to that place. So so I wasn't going to go there.
No. But the issue obviously needed to be postponed because both you didn't have the distribution to Barnes & Noble, which I know you worked really hard for, and it was an amazing achievement to get that. But they were not willing to buy. So you decided to postpone the issue? Oh, no. Hey, Nnenna, you're on.
I don't live in that world. I mean, I just knew that if we're still here in 2021, then that means things are moving forward. I was going to move forward until I literally could not move forward anymore. So that time has not come yet. It hasn't happened. So my goal was just to keep forging forward until I couldn't do it anymore. And so that kept me hopeful. We kept doing everything else that we could do around the issue, except the photo shoots, so that when things open back up, we would be ready to do that. As far as distribution, at that point, this is something I had been thinking about also, because there's so many middlemen between me and the readers. And I haven't been too thrilled about, what gets lost, the percentage that gets lost in the middle. So I've already been planning to have more control about selling directly to consumers myself. And it's something that I tested out last year, but I tested out different things, doing live shows, live events, online and all that. So part of the blessing of this sort of downtime that we all had was I had time to really think about my business, what's working, what's not working, what do I want to do, and then what is the gap between what I want to do and where I am right now. And I I had the space and time to be able to figure out what I was missing. I mean, for me, it's sort of, it's like the sales and marketing things that I don't want to, I wanted somebody else to do it, but I just realized, okay, it's on you, you have to do it. Yeah. So I studied up on those topics. My email marketing had been going very well. So I wanted to capitalize on that. So I really wanted to up my email marketing, digital marketing, because I learned that the live thing was not me. It's too tasking, too exhausting for the time you put in and what you get back. You can't be in so many places at one time if you want to sell in mass. So I already eliminated that. And anyway, so I did focus my time learning, how to market myself directly to consumers in mass, where I can reach out to thousands of people without having to be in thousands of places. So the downtime gave me a chance to actually implement that, which ended up working out very much in my favor. So even when we were proceeding with publication, I didn't know what would happen, but I just said, I can always sell it myself. I don't need them to, there's got to be a way to sell myself. And I just had to get over the hump of, the economy is bad, nobody's buying. But I just, once I realized that I kept, people kept serving me ads all the time. I'm like, if they're serving it to me and I'm buying, why wouldn't other people buy? And so I just began implementing the things that I had, I was studying, and it worked. I've already surpassed last year's revenue,
Wow! Without Barnes and Noble.
Without so this issue that was due out in May just came out last month. Just came out this month, first week of this month. September 2nd-ish, I think. So it just released. But I've already surpassed the sales from last year, and so it's been a lesson in steadfastness and just knowing that the external world may be crumbling, but there are things that you still have control over. One is your inner world, and even in the outer things, I just decided to focus on the things that I had control over. So so that's where we are.
It was only delayed by a couple of months, but it was a blessing in disguise that Barnes and Noble didn't work out, because then you finally had to do something about something you had been thinking about, which take back control of your own distribution, basically.
And it is in Barnes and Noble, so it still worked out.
Come back, I know.
So it still worked out. I just had to switch distributor and go with, so it hasn't been without some sort of friction, because I had to work with a new distributor that Barnes and Noble suggested that we work with, and COVID logistics has been, so even though the issue has been selling for almost 4 weeks now, it's yet to be. I have to go check now and see if they're in stores. But just the traveling and getting it everywhere. It's been out of my hands for 3 or 4 weeks now, but it hasn't made it, but it will make it there eventually. So at least in the meantime, I've been selling it on my own, and with I also with contacts that I have with individual stores, because I decided to be my own middleman.
Yes, so, I love it. I love it now.
Yeah. So
it's been a blessing in disguise.
It has been, yes.
Yeah. And you still feel calm through all this?
Yes, I mean, I definitely had moments of panic, but I always come back to the calm, and the trick is just to make sure that every day, even when I didn't feel like doing some things, I may not be running, but I was always out taking long walks, and that gave me a time to process things. When things were, so many things have gone wrong, if I'm perfectly honest, and many uncertainties. The uncertainties is also, it can be quite crushing, when you feel things are out of your hand. and you're just working for something you're not quite sure yet. So even the next issue is already due out in November. And with logistics the way it is, we're just pressing forward. Even if it comes out in February, that's fine. But if I decide not to do anything now, it's never going to come out, So so that's where we are right now.
I hear a lot of optimism from you. Where it's like this perseverance. I'll just press forward even if it's delayed. That's still okay.
Yeah, I consider the alternative, really.
Yeah.
The alternative is just to give up. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine, but it wouldn't be because I gave up. When it doesn't work out, I want it to be because I gave it my all and it didn't work out. So
gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, so I'm still practicing. I'm in this practice of letting go, because I feel like I'm a type A. I want to control everything, and I've learned that it only gives me stress and back pains. And so when I get there, but I'm becoming sharper at course correcting, and I don't even want to entertain the stopping, So the goal now is just to keep going. Any progress is progress. I've lowered my bar of progress, and I think that helped, because I'll beat myself up if I wanted to do 100 things and I didn't do it. If I did one, it still took me a step further. So I'm trying to focus on those micro wins, and just making it through each day. Each day is another new day. And so I preach to myself every day on the optimism. And while recognizing, I know that there's been so much heartache these last 6 months. It really has not been easy, even for me. It's just sort of the conscious choice that I'm making, because the alternative has just been too bad. It's some place I've gone before that I don't want to go. I don't want to go there again.
Yeah. But there's a lot of hope with what you're saying. So some progress is better than none. So just keep on going and do it at a pace that you can deal with.
Yes, at your own pace, because everybody has, there's some people, everybody has their own pace. Some people don't have kids, and maybe they can stay from morning till 9. My kids are back in school now, so which even made me more grateful for the time that we didn't go to school, because I forgot how much time I spend in carpool. I'm always that mom with my laptop in the carpool. Because every time I have to try to get in as much work as I can before they come in, so I can give them my full attention. So I think people should just work at their own pace. I've sort of stopped looking at what other people are doing, because they're doing what's working for them, So whatever progress you can make, it's better than no progress. That's the way I'm looking at it now.
Yeah. And you say here, we see your wonderful magazines behind you, and the best is yet to come. How is your view of the next future, like 6 months or beyond? I know we all don't know what's going to happen, but how do you look at it?
For me, like you said, it's so uncertain. It's so uncertain. And I'm trying to stay prepared as best as I can. That's, to me, I think that's the best thing that's the best I can do now. I don't really want to fall back on, the alternative would just be to sit and do nothing and blame it on uncertainty. So my plan is to accept the reality of what's happening and keep pushing forward. I have no choice now but to remain hopeful, and it's just hopeful that whatever comes, I would be able to overcome it. It's not so much hopeful that it's going to be peachy. It's just, I'm just hopeful one day at a time, whatever comes the next day, it's hopefully I'll be able to tackle it and then move on to the next.
And with that attitude, you will.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, that's the new issue. It's, the motherhood issue, which took 9 months. So very much on topic. Yeah.
And now people can subscribe to your magazine just directly from you.
Yeah, people can subscribe. People could, it's always been available, but it's just that I tend to highlight more going to other channels instead of coming to my channel. So yes, people can subscribe on the website, radianthealthmag.com. Yes.
Wonderful. Nnenna, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and, inspiration and hopeful message for everyone who just feel they're not making progress. Just every day, a little bit of progress. That's what counts.
Yes. Micro progress. Yeah. Yeah. I used to live in that world. I mean, we're still in big picture thinking, but I'm now just trying to do one small progress at a time. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you
for having me. Thank you, Sigrun. All right. Bye-bye.